Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show.
It may well possess a rudimentary intelligence.
I'm trying to think, but nothing happens.
Felt a great disturbance in the force.
Hello, I'm Mr. Red.
Come on, bark like a dog for me.
Where's the goodies?
Leave the gun. Take the cannoli.
I bet you wouldn't have done anything like this if Mom and Dad were here.
You filthy criminal.
Excuse me while I whip this house.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Here are your hosts, Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Envied throughout baseball, the Mets possess depth, relievers, and aces. Jerry Kuzman, Tom Seaver, John Matlack, Mickey Lolich, Greg Swan, Bob Apodaca, and Skip Lockwood in his first full year as a Met reliever after joining the organization in mid-'75.
I had a chance to go to the Mets. I was very pleased when the Mets called me. And I came here last year, and I was very happy to get a chance to throw.
And Lockwood was ready whenever Joe Frazier called upon him. Lockwood appeared in 56 games with 19 saves, 10 wins, and a remarkable 108 strikeouts in 94 innings pitched.
I do think about strikeouts. And I think if I can get strike two on most of the people, I feel like I can get them out. Tom Seaver pitch, and watching Jerry Kuzman and Johnny Matlack pitch, and I've learned a lot.
There we go. Everything Old is New Again here with Mr. Met himself, David Cohen, Douglas Viviani. How are you, David?
I'm well, Doug. How are you?
I'm good. We're experiencing a slightly difficult deal here with our technicalities, our technique here, because we have a guest on the phone that we're very excited to talk to today. He's well, David, why don't you give us a little once-over on who we have here? Skip Lockwood, who's enjoyed a professional baseball career from 65 to 1980, most of the time pitching for either Milwaukee Brewers or the Mets from 75 to 79. He earned, believe it or not, a master's degree from Fairfield University and another from MIT, which we'll talk about. And today he continues to study and practice in the field of sports psychology. But better than that, he has a book that was just released, Insight Pitch: My Life as a Major League Closer, which takes you behind the scenes of the day-to-day life of a major league player, as well as the success of game day visualization and mental preparation. We'll have to deal with that and talk about that and see what that's all about with Skip Lockwood. Skip Lockwood, welcome to Everything Old is New Again.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a thrill for me to be asked on programs to talk about the book, to talk about my career. I had a chance to live a little boy's dream, and I wasn't sure when I began where it would go. As it turned out, I found myself in the major leagues, and I stayed there maybe longer than I should have if you're a Boston Red Sox fan.
Well, once you're there, I'm sure you don't want to let go. I mean, it was quite a ride. You were on some interesting teams, which we'll get to in a few minutes. But I want to ask you, just as a brief overview, and we'll get into details in a minute. But when you wrote this book, what did you want the reader or the fan to take away from the book?
Well, I have, over the years, been asked so many times by friends and by people that you would meet at a bar or someplace, what was it like? What was it like to play Major League Baseball? What did the guys talk about? What did the catchers say to you?
Right.
They came to the mound and the manager. And what do they talk about the dugout in the bullpen? What do people talk about? And I didn't really have a good way of trying to convey all of that to them. So what I try to do is, I think baseball's very blessed because of the stories that the players have about each other and about game situations. The stories, I believe, are the richness of the baseball culture. So I started to write them down. I didn't have anything really in mind. I was writing stories. I thought some of them were funny, some of them were serious, and so I just kept on writing stories. And the hardest thing for me was trying to, put them together and to make sense, have a beginning and a middle and an end to it. But So there's two reasons. The first reason I started to write was because I had a lot of rich stories that I wanted to tell that I thought would be entertaining. If I can be a little bit esoteric, I don't mean to be, but I've been out of baseball 30 years now, and when they refer to me, everybody refers to me in the past tense. He used to play. He played with the Mets. He played with the Milwaukee Brewers. You just did it in your open. They give me a past tense verb. He used to play. He played. He was. And that's fine. I wanted a present tense verb.
Right.
I want to be somebody. I want an is. And so now, with the writing of the book, I am an author. I am introduced as an author. And it helps these old bones to have something that's a present tense verb.
You know what? And maybe with the help of Everything Old is New Again, will become a best-selling author. How about that? We'll shoot for the stars, right? What do we do? We need to visualize that. What do? We visualize people at the book Barnes & Noble buying the book. I'm trying to segue into your visualization. In the beginning of the book, you start...
I did that last week. I had people at Barnes & Noble buying the book. I did an autograph section with them.
Hey, Skip, do you have any plans for spy novels or any works of fiction or anything coming up after this one?
I'm writing a little bit. I don't know where it's taking me. I don't know whether you've done much writing, but it sort of has a life of its own. So you start off doing something and your fingers find another name that you didn't know that you knew. Or they find a date or a story or something like that. You had no intention of writing. I did some writing this winter. It's interesting to me. I'm not sure that it would be interesting to people. I thought about different ways of conveying a message, being fiction and others. You have more freedom. Certainly, you don't have to get all the facts and everything straight if you did a fiction. But
yeah, I find this historical, what do they call it? Historical fiction that they're doing now is pretty interesting too. Sort of like the Titanic. The Titanic existed, but you produce a story in that environment, keeping the basic facts there, but your characters are fictional. Maybe you could do, who knows, something like that with baseball, where you've got, you have all of that background. You know what's going on behind the scenes, how players talk, and so forth. I don't know, just an idea, and we'll keep track of it. And if you do that, we'll look for our 5%, Anyway,
I think it's a great idea. The idea of I have more stories to tell. I have more time to tell them. And the book is doing very well right now. It's getting great reviews. And that the whole process of writing it somehow feels cathartic. It feels good.
It's nice to get it down into, your stories that you have into writing, and you sort of, I think, are able to say, all right, let me put that story out of my mind for a moment, because I've written it down, and now I could free up my mind maybe to explore another story that's right behind that one that's in your catalog, if that makes sense. Once you put it in writing, you can go on to the next one.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happens. When you write about a person or a player that you played with, and you remember him, but remembering him, you find another player that was sitting right next to him at the same time, or somebody that you sat on the bus with. And those stories sort of come to you, and you didn't know that they were going to land on your lap, but they do.
Right.
It's a very interesting process.
So speaking about that, we only have 2 minutes in this particular section, so I'm going to take a small story, and then we'll expand the next section when we come back. Tell us a smidge. Local New York Mets fans from the 70s will know this, because they mentioned it on the broadcast many times, but generally speaking, Joe Pignatano, who was the bullpen coach for the Mets, had an unusual hobby, I would say, that took place right there, and it took root in the bullpen itself. Maybe you could tell us a little about
It took root. Piggy was obsessed with his garden, and he had a great garden. He spent most of the time before the game, before practice and stuff like that, weeding and hoeing and planting, and he had zucchinis and peppers and all kinds of things out there. And the Mets Shea Stadium bullpen wasn't that big, so he had taken some soil behind the pitcher's mound, the warm-up mound. And he had stakes in the ground for the tomatoes, and he was watering it. I mean, he's up. When the time was right, he had to pay attention to the game and everything. I don't mean to say he was distracted, but it was fun.
Well, it gave a new definition to the saying, that watching baseball is like watching grass grow, which I don't believe. But, I mean, it's like watching tomatoes grow, if you will. I hate to do this. We have to hold off for a comment on that. We'll be right back. Break for a commercial break. Right here on Everything Old is New Again. Come on back. Listen to us speaking with Skip Lockwood. Insight pitch. My life as a major league closer. We'll be back right after this. Everything Old is New Again.
You're going to be the best. White Sox and Tigers, the Angels and the Angels.
You're listening to Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
So down on the corner, the national pastime went on trial. We're talking baseball. Klazuski, Campanella, talking baseball. The man and Bobby Fella, the Scooter, the Barber, and the new...
We're back here on Everything Old is New Again with David Cohen, of course, Douglas Viviani, and we're joined by Skip Lockwood, author of Insight Pitch. My life as a major league closer. I was excited when Skip Lockwood was traded to the Mets in '75. They had a heck of a pitching staff back then. We'll get to that in a minute. But I just want to dovetail off of, we played a song on the way out of the last commercial break. I'm going to play a smidge of it right now just to refresh our memory and see if we can get Skip to tell us a little bit about this.
See them at the ballpark on those good old summer days. Orioles and
I'm kidding a little bit, but that has to do with the Seattle Pilots.
Exactly. David Cohen was enjoying that song.
The Seattle Pilots was a ship of fools. There was a mismatch of everything that was loose in the league. I think they tipped it, and everything that was loose in the league ran into the northwest corner.
Well, David was going to say something about the song.
Yeah, well, they were an expansion team, Seattle Pilots.
Yeah.
Didn't last very long at all. But if you listen to the lyrics of the song, I think they mention every other team in the American League in the song to, I guess, get the baseball fans excited to not just see the Pilots, but let's come and see these other guys play, too. They're probably better than we are.
But now, Skip, you started, or you did play with them for a small period of time. What was it like to be on an expansion team, look in the stands, and I'm guessing, I don't mean to put them down, but I think you had probably, I think you said in the book, somewhere around 5,000 or 6,000 fans at a time. Would that be about right?
I don't know whether there was that many.
I meant for the season.
Yeah. I know it. And there was a very hollow feeling at the stadium. Sixth Stadium was an old AAA ballpark, and it was all metal seats and everything, and you could hear them talking up there. You could hear it was like an echo playing in an echo chamber.
Wow.
The funny thing about there's a lot of funny stories about the Pilots, but when I got to Seattle, I hadn't been pitching. When I got to spring training in Seattle for the Pilots, I hadn't been pitching very long. I had changed over from being an infielder to a pitcher the winter before. And so when I got the contract from Seattle to go to spring training, they don't give you a long song and dance about where you're going to play and what you're going to do. They give you an amount of money they're going to pay you and hopefully spell your name right. and either a bus ticket or a plane ticket to Florida. When I got to Florida, I didn't know whether I was a pitcher or an infielder. So I went in, got dressed. Everybody goes out to the position. So I went down to third base with Rich Rollins. He was a third baseman. And I was fielding ground balls, and throwing them over to first base. I was, an infield. I had been an infielder for 3 or 4 years. I played in the big leagues already as a pitching coach. Yells down at me, Lockwood, get out of the outfield with the rest of the pitchers.
It's sort of like a pickup game in a way, where you were picking your own pitch.
I looked at Rich and I said, hey, man, I'm a pitcher. To this day, he thinks I'm absolutely crazy.
Doesn't return your phone calls anymore, right? Anyway, I found it interesting that you said that the fans could probably hear a lot of the conversation on the on the field in Seattle. Now, there's a story in the book a little bit about when you started with the Mets. Your first game, first time on the mound for the Mets. Yogi Berra, Hall of Famer. We all know who he is, and he was managing the team at the time. And it sounds like the first meeting you had with him on the mound, if the fans at Shea were able to hear this conversation, would be a little bit cringeworthy, if you will, because I don't think he got your name right. Is that correct?
No, he didn't. When I got to New York, I came from AAA, and I was pitching great in AAA, so I was really excited to get to New York. I had a good fastball going, and I was throwing strikes. So they asked me to fly in to Virginia for a day, so they cleared their roster. So I went to Newport News, Virginia for an overnight, and then took a little, I think it was a Piedmont commuter jet into New York. They had a doubleheader. And I was flying in mid-game, first game, flying right over the stadium so I could see right down in there. It didn't look like the Mets were doing too well. There's another story about me getting into a uniform and going to the wrong bullpen. I'll save that story for the people that read the book.
Right.
But I ended up on the mound, and I didn't know anybody in the stadium. I didn't know any of the players. We were playing Montreal. I didn't know any of those guys. I had never met Yogi Berra or the catcher, Johnny Stern. I didn't know anybody. So I didn't know, when you're first meeting people, you should shake hands and introduce yourself. And I just didn't feel like that was appropriate, on the mound. The fans would be a little odd if it's shaking hands with the manager. So he said to me, "Hey, kid," he said, "what's your name?" And I said, "My name is Skip." He said, "Okay, Chip. Now listen, I want you to throw strikes." And I had very thick glasses at the time, and I pitched with these Coke bottle glasses, and they were all fogged up. And I was trying to wipe them off on my uniform because I couldn't really see that well, so I had my glasses off. And I'm trying to manage the glasses. John Stearns had just given me a baseball in my glove I was supposed to pitch with. It fell out and rolled across the mound and to the side, and he went to get it again. Now, Yogi's looking at me, and I can't see him too good. And Stern was looking at me. He doesn't even know my name at the same time. Stern says to me, "What do you throw?" And I said, "I throw fastball and sometimes a little bit of a curveball, but it's not great." So he said, okay, cool. He went back and started to give me signals. And the first curveball he asked for, I bounced. Second one was worse. And so he came running back out to the mound. He said, okay, so I'm going to give you one as a fastball. And when I put down two, he said, that means twice as fast, but don't throw that curveball anymore.
About that. And then unfortunately, sooner or later, everyone got to learn your name. I know that because.
Did you try to correct Yogi to tell him what your real name was?
No, but and he went back to the bench and he was yelling, "Come on, Chip! Come on, Chip!
It didn't matter.
How about that? Great Yogi Berra story. So the book starts with you visualizing and speaking about visualization of, I believe, 1975, Tom Seaver's last game that year, where he wanted to win the game, just to put icing on the cake, if you will, to try to put him over the top and win the Cy Young Award over, I think it was Randy Jones at the time. And he did eventually do that. And I'm sure he gave you a tip of the hat every so often, because you did a great job for him that year and a couple years thereafter. But my question is, with respect to visualization, you could tell us a little bit about what it is. You do it in the book pretty well, and it's a running theme throughout the book, which I think is pretty interesting, the way you interwove different visualizations of what you think and want to happen, and then what really did happen. But generally speaking, what is that? And if you can, in about 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, it's not easy to capture in a phrase or a sentence.
Right.
Visualization is a tool that is used by many athletes, many different sports today: golf, basketball, baseball for sure. And what the athlete is basically trying to do is visualize what's going to happen. visualize himself hitting the baseball, visualize throwing strikes, visualize before it happens, a putt going in or a drive going down the middle of the fairway. It's as old as time. I mean, really, the visualization is not a new concept. But having it used so extensively in sports today is. This was pretty new for me. I was in the process of trying to adopt a relaxation technique before the game that would help me prepare the game, if you will, prepare to go out to the mound, calm my nerves, prepare myself to be, out there with the crowd and looking in for signals and prepare the visuals of all that stuff so it wouldn't make me nervous and so I could play my best. And Seaver used to do that too. And so Tom and I had long conversations about trying to what you picture and how you picture it and what you do with the pictures and how to, be as vivid and as illuminating as you possibly can with the visuals that you have so that you won't be surprised when you get out there and that you want to hear the catcher catch the ball and see the batter miss it and see the smoke come from the catcher's mitt and the best when he gets it. Hear the umpire say strike three. You try to create the game, before you have to go out there. And it may sound a little weird. First try, it may not go the way you want it to, but believe me, it works. And so many athletes today are putting themselves in the center of the action, in the center of the dream before the game happens, before the contest happens. It really is a remarkable tool.
So it's sort of setting the goal of what you want to do with this particular batter and so forth, and seeing it in your mind so that you're sort of reinforcing it when you're actually doing it. We'll be back, unfortunately, after taking another break right here on Everything Old is New Again. We're going to return with Skip Lockwood and continue talking about Insight Pitch. My life as a major league closer, and it's just great. Tom Seaver himself says Skip takes you with us onto the field and into the action. We'll be back right after this on Everything Old's New Again.
Come see what's brewing. Come see what the good times are. Come see what the Brewers are doing. Come on and cheer a superstar. Be a believer in Brewer.
Now, back to America's entertainment pop culture talk show. Everything Old is New Again with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Sorry, that's the All-Star game in Houston right there. That's what that is.
And the Astrodome,
that's exactly right. That's 68. That's right.
Here's Mickey
Mantle. That's right. And I threw 3 pitches to Mickey, and then it's the only time I faced Mickey Mantle.
Is that
it? Was kind of, it's one of the little things that become memories for you, obviously. And it was at the end of his career, and I threw 3 fastballs and got him all, I was throwing awfully good that day. Got them all by him, and he struck out.
We're back with Everything Old is New Again, and we were joined right there by Tom Seaver and Kiner's Corner. I'm here, of course, with David Cohen, and we're happy to join Skip Lockwood in a discussion now about his book, Insight Pitch, My Life as a Major League Closer. Tom Seaver says that joining the Mets in mid-season, Skip quickly became the dependable closer that we needed. He and I had long conversations about exactly how to prepare for each game and what it meant to leave nothing to chance. In his new book, Skip takes you with us onto the field and into the action, and you actually roomed with Tom Seaver in Connecticut and carpooled with him to and from the stadium, from what I understand. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, the carpooling was a little scary. He had a Porsche that went real fast, and I guess he was known to the local establishment that he would go in that Connecticut Turnpike really quickly. It was a white-knuckle affair. By the time he would get to the ballpark, you'd be worried about your safety.
He had his own personal easy pass, if you will. In other words, everybody knew he was there.
He was a great guy. Tom was a very interesting man, a very rich, he knew a lot more than just baseball. He was cultured and articulate. Tom was, there was a lot of substance there.
And I'll tell you, he really was something, because you could see I used to watch those kind of corner interviews all the time after the game. If you're not familiar that you're listening, because we're across the nation here, after the game is over, Ralph Kiner, one of the announcers, and certainly was a Hall of Fame baseball player as well, would interview a couple of the stars of the game and reiterate what went on. And that particular clip you just heard was when Tom Seaver came back to the Mets in '83. That was, I believe, opening day, and Tom was just reminiscing a little bit with Ralph Kiner about his career, and they were talking about Mickey Mantle in a 1968 All-Star game and how Tom had struck him out on 3 straight fastballs. Now, I just brought that up in that I thought it was interesting that, and I always saw this, Tom Seaver, every time he was on Kiner's Corner or in an interview, would remember, it seemed like, every single batter, every single pitch. What was the pitch before the guy got the hit? What was the pitch after? Or what was the pitch that set it up, and so forth? So he was, of course, a thinking man's pitcher, and you carpooled with him, and I think in the book we get the sense that he promoted and tried to present to you his philosophy on pitching. Now, he had a number of pitchers. You were basically a fastball pitcher, but again, you were a reliever and he was a starter, so different roles there. But did he impart upon you something that you might be able to, and yourself, impart upon the let's say the Little League player of today, and what they can do to be successful as they can be with their skill in baseball?
I'm telling you in a couple of books about the science of pitching and mind control and being mindful of what you're doing. Tom was of the opinion that you should leave nothing to chance. So when he prepared for the game, he did so. He was a remarkable athlete, and he would prepare every corner of that game, every inch of what he was going to do, as if he was going to play you a concerto. And each batter was a note that he was going to play, and his plan was not to read the music, but he wanted to play a song. He wanted to play his instrument from you. And his instrument was, of course, pitching. Tom knew a lot about how to pitch, the fundamentals of pitching, and all of that. But what he taught me was what I needed to do in my head to go out there and be successful, and not be scared of being successful, and not worry about going out there and preparing to lose. It's so easy to lose today. You just lose and you go away and you don't have to deal with it. But if you win and you win successfully, there's a lot of baggage that carries, and you've got to carry that baggage with you. And being the closer for the Mets is an important role. You get the game in the 8th and 9th inning, and you're supposed to win. We didn't have multi-year contracts back then.
Right.
And we had 1-year contracts, and if you didn't pitch well, you weren't going to pitch. You weren't going to pitch tomorrow. And they had no patience for people that come in and walk guys and stuff like that. So I was having trouble concentrating and keeping a high level of energy in between innings. Because you get psyched and you're out there and you pitch and you do well and you come back, and then in those days you had to pitch a couple innings sometimes to get a save. It wasn't just a 1 inning or 1 out kind of situation. I was having trouble where I was keeping the energy up, and I said to Tom, God, I'm going crazy, in between innings, man. And he said, listen, do red light, green light. Red light means when you walk across the foul line, it's red light, you're off duty, you're on vacation. You're not pitching anymore until you go back out there. Relax. Sit on the bench and think of nothing. Don't try to keep your energy high. Then when you go back out there, switch flicks on again. It's green light. Now it's time to pitch. You don't have to say, hi the whole time. And simple mental red light, green light. How simple can that be? But it was just a saying like that helped me. When you go in and you say to a kid in baseball, don't go out there and try to be the best you can be for 2 hours or 3 hours. Be the best you can be when you're at bat. Be the best you can be when you're in the field. You cheer for your other teammates. When you're on the bench, let them be the best they can be.
Right, and so you take it one step at a time. Now you pitched with, of course, Tom Seaver, Jerry Koosman, John Matlack, Mickey Lolich in a lineup there in 1976. And, of course, yourself. Now, two questions. Was that the best pitching staff that you played with? And the second question is there something that they all did, including yourself, that's a common denominator that you would attribute some portion of all of their and your success to? Would it be visualization or something else?
Number one, it was the best team and best pitching staff I ever played with. I think it was the best team I ever played with. We played very well. We didn't win. We finished third a couple of times, but really we had great players. And playing in New York and Shea was very interesting, just because the enthusiasm from the people, and you feed off of the enthusiasm that's in the ballpark. Koosman, Matlack, Seaver were Matlack and Seaver were more scientific in their approach. Koosman was more of a free dealer, high kick, lefty, big round curveball, threw hard. I roomed with Mickey Lolich, and Lolich was a very interesting character. He didn't look like a baseball player; he looked like a sumo wrestler. Yeah. And he was just the sweetest man you'd ever want to meet in your life. And boy, he would pound the strike zone. He would throw this heavy, sinking fastball, and the catcher had trouble with it, and the batters all had trouble with it. And he swung a slider at you, and everything he did, man, had weight to it. Yeah. If you pardon the expression. Yeah. I think that there's a common denominator. Each one of those guys loved to be in situations where they could win. They liked the heat. They liked being in St. Louis in the middle of the summer. They liked being in Chicago in the middle of the pennant race. Going to Pittsburgh and going to Cincinnati, they loved going out there. Koosman loved to go out and pitch, as did Matlack. These guys just loved what they did.
So they loved what they did, and they were, I think the other thing you say in the book many times is practice, practice, practice. If you love what you're doing, you're going to want to practice. And, of course, the more practice you do, you would presume the better that you're going to get.
Yeah, and the more practice involves thinking about practicing, too. If you start to say bad things to yourself, you're like, I hope that doesn't happen. I don't want that to happen. And those things start to happen. You've got to have a parade of good sayings and good things that you think about in your mind. Somebody's going to control your mind, and it might as well be you. And you might as well have a picture and a movie to play in your mind of you pitching and playing well, because that's what will happen when you go to the mound.
That's great advice for the little leaguer to the professional and everyone in between, from Skip Lockwood. Howie Rose, broadcaster of the Mets himself, says, armed with a keen sense of humor and self-deprecation, Skip's memoir, Insight Pitch, provides a unique look at life in the major leagues before the players enjoyed the riches and security of today's big leaguers. We'll come back right after this on Everything Old is New again with Skip Lockwood and discuss more of this great book, Insight Pitch, My Life as a Major League Closer. Right back on Everything Old is New again.
This is Everything Old is New Again, America's entertainment pop culture talk show with Douglas Viviani and David Cohen.
Rusty again is a Met, and the great Alexander is pitching again in Washington. I'm talking baseball, like Reggie Quisenberry, talking baseball. Carew and Gaylord Perry, Seaver, Garvey, Schmidt, and Vida Blue.
There we go. We're back here on Everything Old is New again, talking all things baseball and the book Insight Pitch with Skip Lockwood, former New York Met, Seattle Pilot, Milwaukee Brewer. Let's see. Red Sox, Yankees for a smidge, I think just in spring training. California Angel. Well-traveled, but well and much appreciated in wherever you went, and especially, I think, in Milwaukee and in New York. Really brought a smile to our face when we would see you come in from the dugout. In the day, did they bring you in from the dugout at Shea Stadium in the old Datsun or the cars, or was it? I mean, the bullpen, or was it those like golf carts with the hat on it? Do you remember that?
Oh no, it was a golf cart
with the hat on it.
No, we had the golf carts. Oh, we loved the golf cart. Had the radio on it, and so you could get a commercial and get a deal on a Chevy on the way into the pitch. There was all kinds of things going on. In the golf cart.
Yeah, they don't do that now. That's more or less you walk in on your own now. So they've done away with.
No, but we were so close to the steam, so we used to come in on the cinder track, and so it gave the fans a chance to cheer you on,
right,
or not.
Exactly.
How you were pitching.
Now
you got a close example of them very enthusiastic fans. And if you know, I used to pitch at the end of the game, which also means that some of them had a few beers by the time I would come in.
Yeah, absolutely. 7th, 8th inning, right? So, now, speaking about old is new again, you did have an opportunity, believe it or not, from what I understand, if I read this right, that in Kansas City, the Kansas City A's that you played with, at some point had Satchel Paige pitch 3 innings at age 59. Did I read that correct?
Yeah, the Kansas City club was an interesting. Kansas City is an interesting place, but the Kansas City club was, we were trying to fashion a winning team out of brand new kids right out of high school. So I was 17, 18 years old. Catfish Hunter was my roommate. He was 17, 18. Raleigh Fingers was there. We had Joe Rudy. We had so many young players. We were trying to draw farmers to the ballpark to watch the A's, and they were doing everything they could. They had Miss Universe, that was the Batgirl, and they had Farm Day, which in itself was hilarious. My locker was way in the back by the men's room, and I had a locker that had one of those sliding names in the top of the locker. And one day I came in, and my name was almost slid all the way out, but it was still up there. I still had a uniform. But beside it, they had put Paige, and obviously they had brought a rookie up from the minor league or something like that, and they've got to give him a chance to play, I guess. I don't know. But in walked Satchel Paige, looked like somebody had left a hanger in a suit of clothes. He walked in the locker room, and tall, skinny drink of water, telling stories and gravelly voice and just connecting with everybody. And they moved my stool over, and he gave him a rocking chair in front of the locker. And he pitched against Boston that day. I think he won. I think he pitched 3 innings. And he had some stories talking about pitching in the old Negro leagues and pitching double headers and pitching 3 or 4 days in a row because you can make $400 or $500 a game. He was just an amazing man. I think back to those days. I wish that I had a chance to play with some of the legends of the game like that. That guys that have made the league what it is.
Right, and in the book, though, it does come out that you talk about him a little bit and how he his attitude was an enthusiasm for the game. He never really looked back. He always looked forward and didn't dwell on, and he had some tough times of the prejudice and unfortunately not being able to play in the major leagues for most, if not all of his, most of his career. He had a lot of tough breaks there, but he didn't carry that on his shoulders, so to speak, right? He had a positive, uplifting attitude, no?
Yeah, I think he had a motto: never look back, because they're gaining on you, so don't look back on you.
Right. Now, speaking of players, you also played with a fellow that back in the day, this is the 70s, I'm sure players, maybe you did this too, you'd go to local malls and sign autographs on a Saturday afternoon when you had off or something, and I remember a mall that opened up around the corner here in the 70s, and lo and behold, Dave Kingman was coming in, and he was a fellow that would hit maybe 220, but hit maybe 50 home runs a year with like 85 RBIs and to 100 RBIs, and he was on the teams that you had played with, and he was mobbed and surrounded at the mall. He was very, very popular. But I don't know. There's some word here and there that he wasn't. He was a little more curmudgeon, or to the press anyway. What was he like as a teammate to play with Dave Kingman?
I love David. David was a great guy. I don't know why they would have Kingman on the same team in the same zip code as LaGuardia Airport. Because the balls that he hit out of Shea Stadium, I'm sure the air traffic control must have seen them coming. Dave Kingman tried to hit every single baseball off the moon.
Right.
And he just swung as hard as he could. Watching him hit batting practice and everything was just an amazing thing. I don't know whether you knew it or not, but Dave wore contact lenses, but he never took them out. So what he did with the contact lenses is he would off-center them when he slept. And I guess his eye removes or gets the oxygen it needs, the water it gets, and then he wakes up in the morning and puts them, slides them from the corner of his eye back on the center again.
Wow.
So you look at it, at Dave Kingman's eyes, they look like the LIE connecting to the Van Nuys or something like that.
Yeah.
It was just red and bloodshot.
Yeah, that couldn't have been helped, because that was with the hard contact lenses back in the day. They weren't the soft ones.
Plastic ones.
Right, which I wore those too, and I tell you what, if you wore them for that much period of time, I mean, put it away, it wasn't healthy for your eyes, let's put it that way. And so you can get...
About what kind of player he was. David was a give and undertaker. He was a guy that would do anything he could for you. Players all loved him that played with him. He was a great runner from first to third. He could haul. He was very good in the outfield, graceful, long legs, very gifted with the glove. I don't think he liked the media all that much.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Is the media kind of didn't give him his due because he would kind of bust their chops a little bit here and there, you know?
Well, it's not easy all the time to sit still for media. You know, they share that an open clubhouse so that anybody could come in and ask you any questions they wanted. And so a lot of times they were interested in the negative stuff, and here's a guy trying to, get dressed and maybe get a beer and get out of there. And so I think Kingman was short maybe with some of the people. You know, today's athlete is much more schooled in how to give, better press conferences. We weren't very savvy about that stuff.
Right. Now, but he was a fun player to watch, and he was always excitement when he was coming up to the plate. There's no question about that. Now, with the excitement, you mentioned a little bit before, with respect to the fans. I always thought about this from a perspective of a fan. Does all the screaming and yelling and so forth that the fans do in the stands have an effect upon the players on the field?
I think it does. I think that it's like standing next to the ocean. You can hear the rise and fall of that roar in the stands, and you can feel the energy, of the waves. And for a player that hasn't been in a big market team, that can be a little intimidating. Coming into a game and announcing your name, and you're going to go out there and pitch, but you can hear the rise of emotion coming from the fans. In Milwaukee, you could hear individually what they said to you. So it was a little bit different. At Shea, I always loved to hear the roar of the crowd, and I felt like it really helped me. I was a different pitcher at Shea Stadium, I think, than any place else in the world. I thought the fans, for me, when I played there, were just wonderful.
See that? So there's hope for us all, for us that never played in the major leagues, to affect a major league game, if you will, if you're screaming loud enough, right from the horse's mouth. From Skip Lockwood, Insight Pitch, My Life as a Major League Closer. Rico Petrocelli, who I remember back in the day, a Red Sox Hall of Famer, says the stories Skip shares in Insight Pitch of his major league career are sprinkled with humor and sensitivity. He shares with us his feelings and emotions when facing hitters in tough situations. This is a terrific book, which I join Rico Petrocelli. I have something in common with him. We both enjoyed this book and our time with Skip Lockwood and Everything Old is New Again. Skip, thank you very much for your time. Good luck with the book, and we really appreciated having you on the show.
Dr. David, thank you. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. It's a great day when we're able to spend some time talking about baseball. Skip Lockwood, one more time, Inside Pitch. Get out there. You can get it, of course, on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, anywhere all books are sold. We'll be back next week to talk all things pop culture on Everything Old is New Again.
the Mets. Meet the